Hey guys, I'm Tiffany H. Lewis. Welcome back to your awakening. This is the butterfly effect. So I'm going to dive right on into the topic. Today, I want to talk to you about some effects. One of the first ones that comes to mind is the butterfly effect. Some people may call this actual science or scientifically provable, and others may call it, a conspiracy theory. But however you look at it, and no matter which way you actually Google the information, you're going to find lots of different explanations and lots of words used in relation to this. So, is it a theory? Has it been discovered? Is there any proof of it? Well, I don't know. So let's find out. So, to less complicate what seems to be, okay, I have a tortoise walking around near me and he's making a bunch of noise, but that's what tortoises do, so just ignore it. Nothing out of the norm there for me whatsoever. All right, anyway, Cassie says hi. So butterfly effect. Let's go and break this down. This seems like it's extremely difficult to understand the concept of it because if you dig deep enough, you'll find out that it dates back to things like relativity, chaos, things like that. So, hence the butterfly effect. Of course, if it gets put into categories like that, it's either scientifically proven or it is, according to whomever, a theory. So, one simple definition is the technical name for the butterfly effect is sensitive dependence on initial conditions, going back to the theory of relativity there for just a moment. It was first proposed in meteorology, but has had an impressive array of implications in a variety of fields, right? Probably energy. Simply put, the butterfly effect occurs when a very small event has exceedingly large and far-reaching impact. So a lot was said in that very brief statement right there. This is true. It dates back to a meteorologist. A meteorologist says, I want to be able to predict the weather for next week. So why is it that if I were to use science, physics, quantum physics, all of these things that I have where the data is readily available and unchanging, why can't I determine what the weather is going to be next week? Well, there's your answer. Because everything in our world is changing. There are things that stay the way they stay and nothing can affect them, or at least not much. Of course, certain things can affect anything, but when we're talking about, meteorologists who invented or at least coined the term as the butterfly effect, he really just wanted to try to predict the weather. Well, you can't do that because there's too many variables involved. So many variables. And I live in Texas, and I'm here to tell you right now that the weather can change 40, 50, I've maybe once seen it change even 55 degrees Fahrenheit in less than an hour. It was snowing 1 minute and then 95 degrees the next. So too many variables. When you get a lot of variables, that's where mathematicians come in and they try to use numbers to try to define something or use numbers to try to explain something. And then again, that goes back to the chaos theory. I'm sure it's called that for a really good reason. So I'm wondering, how confused are you right now? Did I just confuse you? Because if I did, I'm not trying to. So let me break it down. So sociology says that it's sensitive dependence on initial conditions, which means if I had a set of conditions on Monday and I wanted to base Tuesday's weather based off of Monday's initial conditions, well, I might see a pattern. When you look at your phone, when you look at your devices, or even the Weather Channel, you see like a 7-day forecast, right? Especially when like a storm or any kind of natural disaster is happening, or seasons change. So dependence on initial conditions would mean that the initial condition would have to be the same initial condition on the next day that you're trying to predict, or anywhere in the future. That's not possible. Why is that not possible? Because conditions are infinite. There is an infinite number of things that can come into play that could condition it differently. Therefore, it could become an effect or a product of those conditions. So, like I said, it was first proposed in meteorology, and with so many people talking about, their own personal experiences just with this effect alone, just with the butterfly effect alone. So many people have come forward and said, I have had this happen, I have seen this happen, or I believe that this is what's happening. Those are all great. Some may be factual, some may be, a hypothesis, some may be theory. All that matters is that enough people believe in it that it's real. That's how you manifest, reality. All you have to have is enough people that at least believe. I say this every day of my life. You don't have to believe me, but maybe if you could just believe that there's even a slim chance of a possibility of at least any little tiny portion or segment of what I'm saying could be true based on the evidence that I provide you with, okay, well then you're open to the idea and you're not completely closed-minded. And in theory, of course, anything can literally happen. Literally anything. So, now when we're talking about the variety of fields that they're discussing in this very first summation of the semi-definition of the butterfly effect, and that's coming from encyclopedia.com, just so you know. I don't do like Wiki or WikiLeaks. I try very hard to use real information and not uncredible sources. So, fields. Fields is plural. It's got an S on the end. We all know we are all just energy. Energy lives, but it never dies. I know, hard to believe, but true. Energy exists, but you can't necessarily always see it. Yep, strange but true. So, fields. We live in a magnetic and energy field that may or may not be an actual simulation based off of everything we've known about the past and everything that anyone could potentially predict about the future, be it Nostradamus or theology or whatever those reasons are. They're all coming together and formulating these different, subsections and sections of the same thing that still lead to the same question. Is it real? Is it true? Is it true that if a butterfly literally flaps its wings in Georgia, that is the direct result of a tsunami in Tokyo? Is it? Well, let's break it down a little bit more. If I were never born, then you would not be watching this video right now. If I were never born and certain things had happened without me, I don't know what the world would look like right now because I was never born. If I were born and certain events and things happened to me, well, that is why I became who I am today. Fact. So if those things hadn't happened to me, then I would not be who I am here today, right now. And I would not probably be able to precisely explain this to you in even the simplest terms possible. Because again, we're talking about a variety of fields, plural, with an S on the end, not field, fields. Think of it like a soccer field, but Lots of them. Think of it like the universe, or infinite universes, or parallel universes, parallel realities. All those things with S on the end, those are all plural. Whoever you are and wherever I'm getting my information from, I'm hoping it's as credible as its reputation for being credible, and it's always plural. So, what caused me to create this video right now on the butterfly effect? Do you think that someone sneezed and I said, what happens when you sneeze? And then I start to research and discover and uncover the truth that when a person does sneeze, actually their heart stops beating for a moment. Completely true. What do I do with that knowledge? Well, at the very least, I'm knowledgeable of it. Now I know it. Maybe I share it with people. Maybe they share it with other people. Maybe they share it on social media. So this whole effect happens because somebody sneezed just in my presence. And then that led me to research whatever. And then that essentially, probably through my research and the way that I put this out there for the world to understand, will get shared. People will watch it. People will listen to it. And that's awesome. But you got to understand that every single person that listens to it, well, that's a new variable. You just added another person and another person's set of variables, fixed or not. Variables plural. So if you say it to a person who says, you know what? No, I do not believe that people sneeze and their literal heart stops beating for a second. Fine. How do you argue with that? Science says it does. Medicine says it does. Okay? Then you've got whoever they say that to, and whatever tone they take, in which manner they try to explain that to someone else to. Again, theory of relativity. 1 second. So anyway, in the most basic terms, theory says that if a butterfly were to flap its wings in Georgia, it would create a tsunami in Tokyo. Is the same thing and or equal to me not being born, not being able to make this video or this radio show or any of the things that I do in my everyday life. Why? Because I was never born. Why did a butterfly in Georgia flap its wings and create a tsunami in Tokyo? Because a series of events happened. A series of varieties, environmental factors, science, pure luck, air, energy. Energy is always the answer. Energy does not die. It just exists. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And that's why I say all the time, you can never truly die. Of course we have souls, and of course we're in this body at this time in life, but that doesn't mean that you die just because, that's the permanent end. That's not true. And you don't have to believe me on it, but, it's just the way it is. So the fact that I was born, the fact that I'm making this video right now tells you a lot. It says that I've learned everything I've learned based on, as I've suggested, just simply, Googling or searching what happens when someone sneezes. Well, I'm probably going to hand them a tissue and say bless you for sure. And then that creates a ripple effect. And here's why. Now, this doesn't fit in the box that you think I'm about to put it in. So I want to keep the box of the theory of the butterfly effect over here in the box. And now I want to step outside of the box and be on the outside looking in, sort of like with binoculars, but from a faraway perspective as a whole. So everything between what I've seen, what I do or do not believe, or it doesn't even matter. I don't have to believe anything. I'm open and receptive to the idea that this could be true. Therefore, it definitely could be true. You cannot disprove that, no matter how hard you try. So, if I'm born and I'm making these videos and it gets to you and you saw it, do you really think that was coincidence? How about factors, variables? Mathematicians try to figure this one out all the time. What is the variable? A lot of people will tell you it is the 6 degrees of separation. So that means I know you, who knew Jack, who knew Jill, who knew Jane, who knew John, who then knew Stephen. Okay? 6 degrees of separation. So in those 6 people, one of them had to have or does know me, or one of the other, or even more than that. Think about Facebook algorithms and, friends we have in common. Correct. 6 degrees of separation. So it's sort of like the game telephone. I actually compare that one to that a lot. All right, so the chaos theory and the theory of relativity, we're going to go back to Einstein and some of the people that he actually, considered his mentors. And, it does get a little complicated there. But I'm not going to complicate things. So now let's come at this from a separate angle, another angle. Because remember, I'm on the outside looking in on a box. Inside of that box, it is called the butterfly effect. Just the words. If it helps, imagine a butterfly in a box. And I do not mean like I'm going to put it in a box and harm it or anything. I don't have any butterflies anyways, but just to be very, 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 very clear, no butterflies or anybody or anything else was harmed in the making of this video and or radio show. So there you go. I don't have a butterfly. Fine. I love them, but I don't have them. But in your imagination, could you just try to create a visualization of a box that either has the word, the butterfly effect, written on the box, inside the box, or just imagine that there's an actual butterfly inside the box, an alive butterfly. Why does the butterfly have to be alive? Because if the butterfly wasn't alive, it could not create a pattern of a new set of variables. Because it's not alive and it cannot flap its wings to create said tsunami in Tokyo. It has to flap its wings. Right? If the butterfly was never born, well, then that tsunami probably would have never happened. If I hadn't been born, there is no way in the world you would be watching this video and listening to this right now from my mouth. If I had been born, which I was, and learned a lot of things based off of some very simple questions, because I am a very inquisitive person. I need to know why. I don't need to understand it, but I need to know why, or at least comprehend some versions of why. I like options. Variables. So you're watching my video. Now I'm going to move on to another definition of the same thing, the butterfly effect. All right. The butterfly effect in this example, it is the idea that small things can have non-linear, I'm going to emphasize that and say it again, non-linear impacts on a complex system. Does not say system of what, it just says system. The concept is imagined with a butterfly flapping its wings and causing a typhoon. And believe me, I did not read this before I just said it to you. So welcome to my world. Welcome to how you physically manifest whatever it is that you're trying to say, and it just is there because you put it out there into the universe that you wanted to discuss that thing. All right, so, you know, butterflies flapping its wings wherever, and it causes a typhoon wherever. Of course, a single act such as a butterfly flapping its wings cannot cause a typhoon, according to this. And I'm going to see where I'm getting this information from. It's a blog, mental model. That's basically all it says. The butterfly effect and everything you need to know about it. I don't really like to do research while I'm on speaking to you guys, but I like to be accurate. So they're saying you could not remove a single grain of sand from its place without thereby ... changing something throughout all parts of the immeasurable world. Not an immeasurable world, not an eternal or infinite world, an immeasurable world. So back to the beginning, when I said a meteorologist wanted to try to guess and understand, forecast what the weather for the next 7 days might look like, or how close a storm is coming to you if a natural disaster is headed your way. Okay, I'm going to read this sentence one more time. You could not remove a single grain of sand from its place without thereby changing something throughout all parts of the immeasurable whole. So all the things make up a whole. A whole like WHOLE, the whole, the encompassment, the whole entire embodiment of what is life, the universe. Sand. What is sand? If I cannot move a single grain of sand, and sand is sand as a whole, and if I did remove that grain of sand and something happens somewhere else in the world, is it related to the fact that because I moved that piece of sand? And now for this one, I'm going to use a really personal example. So I went to Hawaii recently, and I spent a long time. I spent a little while there, and I did not want to come home. Fact. What I didn't know was that there was this curse on the island that apparently all the locals knew about that I did not know about. So you can't take the sand. You cannot take the volcanic rock, even though it's cooled off. Just so you know, nothing was hot, nothing was harmed. Lava, it cools down, turns into volcanic rock. It's sort of porous too. You can't take the sand, you can't take the shells, or else. And I'm not going to name any names because I'm not one to draw any more energy or spirits into my world. There's enough going on around here at all times. But anyway, I took some shells. Yep, guilty. I did. They were beautiful. I handpicked them too. I did. I brought them home with me back to Texas. I swear to you, since that day, I've always felt like I was under some kind of a curse. It's like everything that could go wrong went wrong. But I figured it out so quickly. Why? Because it literally happened the second I got off the airplane and was back in hometown. I wasn't even home yet. I was just like trying to get the baggage at 3 a.m. and put it in the car and get to my house. So right then, I knew something was off. So I started to research that. Right? What is this curse called? Who curses you and why? Well, it turns out it's like sacred land. It's a lot like Native American burial ground, sacred land. This person, this being, says, you know, if you take my rocks and you take my sand and very specifically shells from my beach and take them on an airplane and take them home with you, You just stole part of my island, and this is my island, and I am the protector of this island. So if it weren't for him, that curse could not exist. But because of him, even just the slightest possibility that there is a curse attached to it, definitely credit is given to him. So literally probably 10 out of 10 people will take the rocks, the shells, the sand, the lava, whatever it is that they took, they will take it back to Hawaii. I met somebody yesterday and we were just talking about this curse. Honestly, seriously, it's crazy. But yeah, and she got to take hers back. I haven't had the chance yet to take mine back. What I have done, though, is I've worked with a lot of shamans and Native Americans, and I've purified the land that I live on to the best of my ability, made peace with whatever I brought home with me, and it seems to be working. Seems to be working. But then again, that's based on variables. If my emotions get involved or I get upset about something, then those variables just changed. Back to the butterfly effect. If I hadn't taken the rocks, I would not even be sitting here talking about variables that may or may not change based off of the fact that there is a supposed or real curse of any type, and that like 9 or 10 out of 10 people actually go back to Hawaii and put whatever they took from there back to wherever they got it from. Not just that, but you have to like get down on your knees in almost a very spiritually ritualistic manner, saying, I'm sorry that I took your rocks. Now see, I've had to make peace with that from here in Texas, but that doesn't mean that I haven't tried to make peace with it. I have made it very clear to the rocks. Yes, I've spoken to the rocks. I've spoken to the shell. I smell them. I've listened to them. I have ingested them in all of my senses. And I think they're beautiful and I love them. But I also understand that that was very disrespectful of me, and I should have educated and cultured myself more on that. However, that's a butterfly effect. Another one, to discuss conspiracy theories. I have a whole other channel and a YouTube channel for that. I'll do that with you all day over there. But here, I hope to inspire you, encourage you. I hope that my message is clear, even on days like today when I have like no voice whatsoever. Guess what? I'm pushing through. I am. I wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for this show. Butterfly effect. I wouldn't have this show if it weren't for me releasing a video a few years ago that literally like formed its own life force and just took off the way it did, which created a lot of series of long-term and short-term and very, very fastly formed short-term. I have been tongue-tied for like 3 months. You know what? Honestly, I'm not going to bring that up again. I've said it multiple times. I get tongue-tied, tongue-twisted, whatever you want to call it. I even have a funny meme that I might even make the picture for this video just as the thumbnail, because I get tongue-twisted a lot. Because I have a lot to say. I'm always losing my voice. I'm overwhelming everybody with information all the time. I'm always encouraging people to look things up. Most importantly, I'm trying to not just educate you, but in an entertaining manner so that I have your attention, I keep your attention, and maybe this is something that you would be interested in. If not, that's cool. But at least, you know, maybe accept the possibility that there's at least a possibility that it could be true. Maybe if I said to you that I went to the gas station right now and I pumped gas into someone else's vehicle and I paid for it while they were inside using the restroom, right? And please don't go there about like vandalism or touching someone's property. I mean this it's an example. Number one, I would not do that without anyone's permission. Number two. And number three, it would be a pay it forward kind of thing. But when you pay it forward, you expect something to happen back in return. And I don't do that. So for me, it's better to be the anonymous person who put the gasoline in the vehicle and pays for it, drives away, and leaves a note in the car that says, "Have a good day." That's just who I am. But all right, so let's say I put gasoline in someone's vehicle and then I pay for it and I leave before they even get out of the restroom. They come back, they try to put the pump in, they try to top it off. The transaction's closed because I paid, whatever amount of dollars up front. And then, it's not. So hence why I said that I would probably leave a note, definitely leave a note. And, probably even go a step further and tell the cashier to tell him that, I don't know, a random person walked in and said, "I want to pay for their gasoline. This is the pump. Here it is. Have a good day." That's it. What if they do that to someone else? What if that starts a new trend? What if that changes the way we look at gasoline? What if I said that by doing that, and you might call that a good deed, and I just call that my normal everyday life. But what if by calling that a good deed, you are setting a standard for what a good deed should be? What if that was a butterfly effect? I know I'm asking a lot of what ifs. You have to ask a lot of whys to get to the what ifs. So, all right. Movies were dating as far back to 1963. There's a movie called Distraught. Jake returns home in 1958 once again and resets history. And then, in addition to being a masterful work of speculative fiction, oh God, I just love that word speculative. Anything to do with specter, it makes me laugh every time. Speculative fiction, right? November 22nd, 1963, this film was called a classic example of how everything in the world is connected together. I will never fight you on that line. Everything and everyone is connected. We are, have been, and always will be a collective and connected we. We are one we. We're all here on planet Earth, right? Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter where you think you come from. Does not matter about the theory of relativity, how fast a vehicle is moving, in accordance to a person standing on the railroad tracks, and how fast the train is going, and according to where the person was standing, and all the other physics and quantum physics that I'm not going to get into right now. It doesn't matter what the theory is. Einstein was brilliant in that way. He created these theories, but if it weren't for these theories, we wouldn't have words to be able to call them theories at the very least. And I think that that's just lack of a better term or terminology in it of itself. So this movie says, how everything in the world is connected together. How is everything in the world connected to each other? Learn how to start asking how back in return. If you see something that says, why did you do that? Okay, grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and if you cannot afford one, literally call me, text me, PM me, whatever, and I will send you a notebook and lots of pens and paper. That way, at least you have something to write on and create your ideas and put them onto paper for you and only you to know and see. By the way, you're going to hear some other noises now. That is my tortoise trying to... they do this thing. They explore the parameters of every single corner, every room, every angle. They just walk around the whole house like in squares, not in circles. It's squares. The walls are squared. The room is squared. I'm sure if the room was round, it would probably confuse him, but not the point. You hear him. He is over there in front of the dragon's line of sight, and this is the baby dragon. He's, I don't know, less than a year old. And so yeah, he's over there banging on the tank with his head. And if this tortoise would like to move something, he's learned how to bulldoze it, which means he can open the tank and really get to my dragon. So I have it up high enough to where he can't reach it to open the doors, which are plexiglass, so you cannot break them. Same thing with my dog. You cannot get to them because they are too high up, out of reach. So no dragons were harmed either in the making of this video, or tortoises. I'm going to show you them. Back on point. Thanks. I had to derail you just for a minute because I just did a classic prime example of the butterfly effect. Had I not gone off on that tangent right before talking about a train and a train track and how velocity, how fast would the train have to be going to know that that person was standing wherever at that exact point of time. So, I love that about Einstein. He has a lot of theory, chaos theory, theory of relativity, and not just him, his mentors, his main mentor, obviously. But, we as a whole who like to learn about everything, we always ask why. And if we can't ask why, then we ask why not. So if I want a solution to something, such as, like I just said about my tortoise not being able to, intimidate my dragon, I just moved the tank up higher. So tortoise can't reach the dragon. He might still be there, and it might still be irritating the dragon who's 5 feet above him in a very safe tank with plexiglass. But the tortoise can't reach 5 feet high to open the door. So that's just a fact. But if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't be talking about what we're going to talk about now. And we wouldn't be talking about this at all. And how that is exactly the kind of example I'm trying to exhume to you. So every action has a reaction. Everything has a consequence. This goes back to the black, white, on, off, yes, no, over, under, light, dark, whatever. Call it whatever you want. It goes back to that. It goes back to that every time. You cannot have one without the other. Why? Because somebody decided that for every action there is and always will be a reaction that is equal to, right? So for every action there is an equal to, or more so, or maybe a little less so, reaction to that action. True. That's totally true. So if a butterfly flaps its wings, it sends out a vibration. Now, man-made word, English specifically, cavemen, whatever the correct terminology is for that, people from a long time ago who built pyramids and drew with hieroglyphics on the wall that are just now, inside these caves being exposed for us to be able to see them and understand them and try to decode them, if we will. But I'm sorry, somebody texted me and it was so irrelevant, but hey, I guess that was the butterfly effect. I'm trying to tell you something important. Somebody texted me. It stopped me in my tracks. And I literally just said that somebody sent me a text. See? Butterfly effect. Anyway, so, call it fact, call it fiction, call it an idea. No matter how many different ways I look this up, it keeps repetitively saying the butterfly effect is the idea that small things can have non-linear impacts on a complex system. I want to break that sentence down for you. The butterfly effect, all right? check it, cool, we got that. We know what the butterfly effect is. When a butterfly flaps its wings and then something happens over here in wherever lands, because we're all connected here on planet Earth, because we all live in the same planet, and because we are all connected because of all those reasons, that totally makes sense. It could happen. I'm not saying it has. I'm not saying it will. But it could literally happen. It could literally happen just as much as if I had never been born, you would not be able to hear this message from me right now. Facts. Or if I had been born and somebody didn't sneeze in front of me, I would have never gone into the research which led me somewhere over here to the butterfly effect. And I did begin this video saying that we're going to talk about a lot of different effects. I have already spoken to you guys about the Mandela effect. I will touch on that again in a minute, but let me please summarize this sentence. So it's saying that it's an idea, but it's factually stating that it must be small things. What can those small things be, do, are? Well, small things can have non-linear impacts. Why non-linear? Why? Why non-linear? Why is that a factual statement on a complex system, period? What's the system? What's so complex about it if it's theory? Do you think that we live in a system? How about a bunch of systems within other systems? And the only way to make that sentence with a period on the end of it and not use any words in a plural fashion, it's just a statement. The butterfly effect is the idea that small things can have nonlinear impacts, actually that's plural, on a complex system. The concept is imagined with a butterfly flapping its wings and causing a typhoon. Again, it's making it sound way more complicated than it is or ever will be. It's the idea that small things, and who says what small is and what are we comparing small to? So it's a statement, can have non-linear impacts. So at any point, no matter what the impact is, it will never be linear. Butterflies flap their wings up and down because we live in a complex system where maybe we believe that the world is round or flat, and linear is a line. So if a butterfly were in front of me and it were flapping its wings up and down, like top to bottom, right? Then why can it only create small changes in a non-linear impact on a complex system? Or a series of impacts. All right, fine. I'm kind of blowing my own mind, and I'm going to do some more research on that, but it doesn't make sense. If what we see is straight, and if we see a butterfly flapping its wings up and down, and it specifically says, for a fact that, science specifically says for a fact that, it's an idea, but here's the facts. It's an idea that small things can have non-linear impacts on a complex system. What are the systems? I know the systems. Systems are things like educational institutions or any other system. Or maybe they're talking about physics. Maybe they're talking about mathematicians. Maybe they are talking about meteorologists. It does not matter what the system is. The system must have begun somewhere, and it must have a solid pattern without any variables. You add one variable, just one grain of sand, just one, and you have just completely corrupted the system and added a variable that was not there before. The concept is imagined with a butterfly flapping its wings. Flapping. It has to ascend. Butterflies, do they fly straight? Do they fly up, north, west, east, south, down? Well, I guess that would be perception. If we live in such a complicated system / systems, are you sure that that's not horizontal? Are you sure that a butterfly is actually flapping its wings up and down? So in a hypothetical situation where I'm a center, just like a red dot, and at the top is north, well, you know, that just further proves that we're all connected and everything is connected to each other, because you're going to have to draw those lines to get it connect from the red dot that I am and that you're perceiving me to be. What are we basing that off of? I'm also losing my voice and time. And honestly, I didn't expect this video to go on that long. And you know what? I hope I've done a good job of trying to help you understand something that seems to be very, very complicated for no reason. The idea is whatever the idea is, okay? To me, this is deeply simple. We are all connected. Anything that you do, anything that you say will have probably, definitely an equal or opposite reaction to whatever you just did or said. Fact. If I say waffles are purple, you're going to directly react to that and say, no, they're not. Maybe you're going to say they're brown. Maybe another person considers them manila colored. Then you get into manila and you think about envelopes. It's very interesting because it is all connected. And, verbiage aside, it's a world where there are infinite possibilities of literally every single thing. And every action will be met with an equal to or greater than or less than reaction. It just will. That's just fact. If we're all connected together, wouldn't that make us finite? Finite is an entire circle that's closed. It's not an open circle. Could it be? Sure. Is it? I don't know. Theory's a funny thing like that. If you guys haven't seen my videos on the Mandela effect and you really want to have your mind blown to the point where it's going to ruin your entire childhood, spoiler alert right here. Watch the videos. And having come up with 144 new ones that I haven't had the time to record yet or make videos about yet, yeah, I've only named a handful of them, and they aren't even like the best ones out there available. They're just mind-boggling to the point where you're like, no. And you'll fight to your death. No. So what do you think about the butterfly effect? Let me know in the comments. And remember, in a world full of zombies, be a butterfly. Morph. Awaken. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please like, follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, guys. See you next time.